Hey guys. I feel like Shane Dawson. It's Halloween today, and I wanted to do something extra spooky special for Halloween, as it's one of my favorite holidays. And I was inspired by Shane Dawson and Mr. Nightmare to do a creepy video. And if you don't know them, sometimes they post either creepy videos, conspiracy theories, spooky stories, my favorite, which are Craigslist stories, as funny as that is. So if you haven't watched them before, please go check them out. I'll definitely link their channels below. I'll listen to them both for hours and hours and hours. But this year for Halloween, I've put together 3 very spooky true stories, so stay tuned. Shortly after I tucked my son into bed, I heard a crash coming from somewhere in the house. I looked all over the main floor but couldn't find anything out of place, so I went back to bed. The following morning, I went upstairs to wake my oldest son when I saw the mirror we recently had installed resting on the floor in the hallway by his door. Now, this mirror was hung in a position such that when you walked through the door, it was on the wall right next to the door frame. The mirror was recently installed, and it was just so unlikely that it fell, and for it to fall so far was even more unlikely. I entered the room and carefully inspected the area where the mirror previously hung. There were marks on the paint like the mirror had been swinging. I felt chills run down my spine. To this day, I have no logical explanation of how the mirror got outside of his room. I am going to try to tell you about this night that my brother and I had. It is a memory that I have always remembered vividly and still frightens me to this day. So when I was about 9 years old, my brother was 8, we had an experience that was hard to explain and frankly, pretty terrifying. It started when we were in bed. Now, we didn't sleep together, but we did have rooms across from each other with a bathroom and hallway separating us. Our house was a 1-story, and both my brother and I had rooms that had a window that led out to 2 separate porches, a front porch and a back porch. My window was located in the front and my brother's was located in the back. Obviously, an ideal setup for any intruder that wanted easy access to a middle-class family. I mean, back then, my brother and I were pretty expendable, so yeah. Anyway, we were in bed, talking across the hall from each other. We had to lean out from our beds to see each other while we talked, and from my view, I could see him in the window that led to the back porch. The window had its blinds down, so I could not see what was outside of it, if there was anything. We were talking, and about an hour passed by. We were getting tired, so we said goodnight and tried to settle in for the night. I was drifting off when I heard it. A whistle. Not just one, but a few. It wasn't like standard whistling either. Rather, it was like going along to a tune. The only way I could describe its manner was sing-songy. The whistling was coming from my brother's room, so I assumed it was him. But why would he be whistling like some barber from the 50s? It was so strange and creepy that I leaned out of the bed to tell him to shut up. But instead, I saw my brother staring back at me with the same bewilderment on his face. So I asked something I wish I never asked. "Was that you?" To which he responded, "I thought it was you." The hair on the back of my neck was up and at attention. I was pretty terrified at this point, but I had to figure what was going on. I got out of bed and rushed to my brother's bedroom. I jumped on his bed and we just stared at the window, waiting to meet our maker. We waited for a good 10 minutes, for anything, and nothing came. We were doubting that we even heard the whistling when we heard it again. Same tune, same cadence, same song. But this time it was longer, more pronounced. Who the hell was out there casually whistling at 11 at night? My brother and I were paralyzed with fear and we could not move. We clutched each other as we listened to the continuous whistling, and finally it stopped, as abruptly as it started. Boom! There was a huge crash on the back porch that sent us in a massive panic. I scrambled out of my brother's bed and sprinted to my parents' room. My brother and I woke my parents out of their slumber to warn them of the person that was terrorizing us in the back porch. They ran to the back door as we followed. When they opened the door, there was a hush that fell over everything. The only thing that could be heard were the crickets chirping in the dark. The porch was soaked in light from the motion sensor floodlights on the corner of the house nearest my brother's window. I don't know whether there was someone outside my brother's window or not, but the whistling I heard that night was the single most frightening thing I've heard in my life. The whistling has not happened again at my house, but it has haunted me both and my brother for years. To give a little background, my dad was very ill, and he took many baths in an attempt to relieve some of his pain he was in. About a week after he passed away, I was laying in bed watching TV when all of a sudden there was a knocking on my door. It was my mom. She was crying. I asked what was wrong, and she struggled to get the words out of her mouth. She explained that when she walked into her bedroom, she heard running water and hurriedly checked the bathroom. The bath had been filling up with water all on its own. She was distraught, as she thought she was going mad. We both went downstairs, and there was in fact water in the tub. She wasn't seeing things. When I walked into her bathroom, the air felt different, and I could feel the hairs on the back of my neck standing up. I will never forget that night. Visits from loved ones can be incredibly comforting, as they sort of remind you that they are right there for you whenever you need them most.